Greetings, everyone. Steve, Paracord of Kindness. How you doing today? Hopefully your weaving's been happy. Okay, what I have for you today is, I think this is going to be the only video on YouTube that shows this. I'm going to show you how I make a Lynx Modified. Not simply the Lynx. There's a few videos out there on how to make this one. This is the Lynx. You notice it's two colors, purplicious and purple, right? Okay, but the Lynx Modified, it adds in an extra color. Here's one I made in burnt orange, black, and lava flow. And the one we'll be working on today is this one. Colonial Blue, Midnight Blue, and Baby Blue Shockwave. Right? This is the one we'll be working on today. So, if you want to know how to make this one, and you want all the tips, the tricks, and the commentary that I'm known for in my videos, then stick around and we'll get right to it. Okay, folks. This part right here, if you're used to watching any of my videos, let me say this up front. Like I say, in a lot of my videos, I'm not a filmmaker, don't have the best equipment, lighting's not bad, can't focus, camera won't stay in focus, and I can't stand to stay in frame. So for that, I apologize, but I know how to make bracelets. That's what I know how to do. And hopefully, I try to impart to you tips, tricks, commentary, insight, things I've picked up from the struggles of me trying to figure out how to do all this. And I turn around and some people may say, you over-explain. Well, some people say you thoroughly explain how to do this. I give commentary on how to do this, okay? But this video itself is probably going to be a little bit different. This section right here anyway, because I don't normally do this. I normally have an introduction and then I go straight into showing you how to weave it. But this one, I'm going to show you how I set up the core strands. Because it's not so much the core strand set up, it's after you do that, you have to set up the cords themselves and get them orientated correctly in order to begin your weave. Let's see if I can explain this to you so it'll make a little bit more sense. There's a few tutorials I've done, but it was simple and I could just do it from the other film angle where I've got my jig set up and I just start weaving, right? This was a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to have to show you. But basic, simple example. For those out there who know how to do a fishtail, right? We understand that most of the time when we set up on our jig, we have our core strands running between the top and the bottom buckle, and then you have two working ends coming off on either side. And most bracelets, 95% of bracelets out there, that's how you start. You have two working ends. The two ends of that long cord that are weaved in between the buckles, the buckle pieces, the ends come off. And those are your working ends which you use to weave and make a bracelet, right? Okay, there are a few. Fishtail is an example. It's a basic example of what I'm talking about. Once you get everything set up, your core strands set up, you have to, before you begin weaving, you have to set up your cords and get them orientated in the correct placement in order to actually begin the weave. Does that make sense? In the case of a fishtail, instead of having a working end on this side, let's just say this is my jig and it's set up, right? Instead of having a working end this way and a working end this way, what you end up having to do is get both working ends on the same side, whether it be, the right or the left. It doesn't matter. You just have to get them on both sides. Not only, like I'm saying, I'm making the distinction between setting up the core strands themselves and then setting up the cords in order to start the weave. You see, there's a difference there. Okay, well, on the case of this bracelet, Lynx Modified, not your basic Lynx, but a Lynx Modified. I'm going to show you the difference. I'll show all this to you. You have to get not only your core set up, but also the cords set up in the proper orientation to begin the weave. right? Okay, now, with all that said, I'll show you this. I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to show you. This one on this side is a basic Lynx. This one is a Lynx Modified. And I'm going to show you the difference. And I'm going to show you all this, explain to you here. And then I'm going to show you actually how to do it. Hopefully that makes sense. And that will help you understand better what's going on. Like I said, this is not something normal, you know, whatever. And I've had people ask about this. And as far as I know, there is no video tutorial on YouTube on how to make a Lynx Modified. Now, there's tutorials on how to do the Lynx, but not the Lynx Modified. There's not that much difference in it, but getting this thing set up, the core set up, and the cords set up to begin weaving, yeah, there's a little bit, it's not hard. It's just, I had to sit down and do this because this information is not in the video. I got all this information out of Cetus, or how do you pronounce his name? I'm not sure if I pronounce his name. Pavel Makurin, right? Cetus 550. Most of us know him by that. This weave, the Lynx Modified, is in Volume 3 of his live paracord books. It can be found on page 110 and 111, right? And I had to sit there and look at that and you know, higher math and satellites linking up in outer space and figure all this out. And I finally figured out, I'm like, okay, I see how he's got this and what's going on, and I did it. I'm like, okay. But I've had a lot of people ask me, is there a tutorial for this when I posted the pictures of this? And there's not. The only place I know of is in that book. So I figured I'll fill that vacuum. I'll stand in the gap, and I'll be the one to make the video on how to do the Lynx Modified, not the Lynx. There's plenty of tutorials. Well, I don't know. I won't say plenty, but there's tutorials out there how to make this. Okay, but that's it. I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to show you the difference between the Lynx and the Lynx Modified. Basically, what it comes down to is you've got two colors over here, and on this one you got three. That's basically the only difference. Now, I'm going to zoom in and get my handy-dandy laser paracord pointer out, and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you the difference here. So you can see this, and then I'm going to show you how to set this up and get this going, right? The actual weaving of this is not very difficult. It's not that hard. Setting it up is probably the crucial point, because it took me a little while to sit there and look at it, figure it out, and I'm like, okay, I see how he's got it. How am I going to do this? And I did it slightly different than the way he's got it set up in his book. So, but I'm going to show you how I've done this. Right? And it works, obviously. I mean, you can see. But let me zoom in and I'm going to show you. Okay, if we look at these two bracelets here, okay, let's just look. I'm going to show you on this one first. This is the Lynx Modified. 3 colors. This is the Lynx, and it has 2 colors. I'm going to show you on this one first because it's probably easier to see. If you look, right here, on this side of the bracelet, if you look, you see you've got orange. It's actually called burnt orange, technically. And then you have black. And then you have this little piece of sliver, and that's lava flow, right? So you have orange, black, lava flow. 1, 2, 3. Understand that? Now, on this side of the bracelet, it's the same way. Starting from the outside edge going in, you have burnt orange, black, and lava flow. Here, I'll hold this up here so you can see those 3 colors. So you can see what I'm trying to explain to you. Just so you can get a visualization in your mind's eye of this. Orange, black, lava flow. Starting from this outside edge. Now over here, same thing. Orange, black, lava flow. We see that. And you see how they're kind of curved around in this sort of semicircle kind of orientation. They're on this side, and then they're on this side. And they kind of come together like that. Does that make sense down through there? Okay. The Lynx Modified, it's got 3. Orange, black, lava flow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The basic Lynx, the one that you can most likely find a tutorial on YouTube, it's 2 colors. And in the case of this, it's Purplicious. That's the one with the white, the brighter looking one, and then just basic purple. In the case of this, okay, we start on this outer edge here, so you can see this. It'll stay in focus. I'll show you this right here. We see we got our Purplicious, and then we have the purple. Right now, on the other side of the bracelet, same thing. Starting from the outer edge, going inward, we have Purplicious and purple. Back to this side of the bracelet, Purplicious, purple. Back over here, Purplicious, purple. We see that, and it's the same basic look, feel, motif, weave, if you will. There's kind of a semicircle arc of those 2 colors. And then on the other side, there's 2 colors. And the 2 colors, we said, the basic Lynx, 2 colors. 1, 2. Lynx Modified, 3 colors. 1, 2, 3. Right? Okay. With that understanding, I'm going to show you how to do this one. Like I said, it's not a hard weave, it's not anything, but I'm going to show you how to set all this up. And that's where I think that's probably going to be the issue, the bottleneck. Somebody's going to want to try to make this. First of all, like I said, I don't know of a tutorial out there how to make this, except from his book. And since I posted pictures, there had quite a few people ask me, is there a tutorial? And I'm like, no, there's not one for this. The only place I know of it is in his book, which I know not everybody has access to his books because they're printed in, the Soviet Union or somewhere on that side of Earth, and they cost. You got to pay for the book, then you got to pay to get it shipped over here and all that. And, a lot of people can afford it. But I have them, so I figured I'd share some of this knowledge, right? But this one, basic Lynx, 2 colors. There's a couple of tutorials for it out there. You can go watch that. And if you want, do one of these, do a couple of these first, and kind of get the basics of it, because they're pretty much the same. Kind of, you start something a little easier, and then work your way to this. But I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to get this out of the way for now. We don't need this. Okay, like I said, 1, 2, 3. From the outside edge inward, 1, 2, 3. Same thing. Orange, black, lava. Same thing over here. 1, 2, 3. Orange, black, lava. Right? Okay. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making one of these. And it's going to be, I'll back out again. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. Colonial Blue, Midnight Blue, and Baby Blue and Midnight Blue Shockwave. We're just going to call it Shockwave pattern. You'll see it. Right? There's our Colonial Blue. That would be the orange in this case. Okay? And then the inner one, the 1, 2, 3, 3, would be this Shockwave pattern, which is Midnight Blue and Baby Blue. But it's just a Shockwave pattern, right? Okay. The black, I'll throw this out there. The black, which is the middle, the 1, 2 black, right? That cord, the one that's in that middle, orange, black, lava. It's the middle one. That's the one that is the actual core strands of this bracelet. If you look up here at the top, you can see where they go through the slot in the buckle. We say we got we got the 4 cords that go through the slot at the buckle. That's the core strands. So whatever your core strand color is, that's going to be number 2 in this orientation. 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? Get that in mind when you go to choose your colors and how, whatever colors you want to do. That one is going to be in the middle. 1, 2, 3. That's the core strands. See, down here. That's the one that goes through the slot of the buckle. Okay. Now, with all that said, this bracelet, here's your specifications. They'll be down below, but here's the specifications. This bracelet, is a full strand core. I'm using a 5/8 or a 15 millimeter buckle. Now I'm going to be making this bracelet for a 7 3/4 inch wrist. The add to measurement is 1 3/4 inches. So we're going to measure out our jig. The way I do this, I'm going to measure the jig out to, what is it? 9.5 inches. So you'll have 7 3/4 plus 1 3/4 inches comes out to 9.5 inches between connection point and connection point. We got that? Okay. Now, like I said, I don't normally show you in the video me setting up the cord strands, but in order to show you how to set up the cords, I kind of show you how to set up the cord strands. But if you don't know how I set up cord strands, there's a link in the description below. Cord strand setup playlist. Go check out the one for the 4-strand cord. Right? There's 2 versions, a deep cut and a shallow cut. Shallow cut, me showing you how to do it. Deep cut, me giving commentary. All right? But you can watch those if you don't know how I do the cord strand setup. But I'm going to show you the basics, but I'm going to show you, more importantly, how to set up the cords once you get it off. So I'm going to pull my jig over here, and I'm going to show you. I've got it all woven together for the most part, but I don't have it tightened up. I've got it loose because we got to get all our cords in there, right? Okay. Like I said, most of the time you don't see this because a lot of bracelets you don't have to do this on. But it's the distinction between setting up the cord strands and setting up your cords to begin weaving. Like I said, a basic fishtail is one that you'd have to do this on. This one, same thing. Whatever. It's a little bit more involved, but yeah, you can do it, and I'll show you. That's what I'm going to show you right here. Okay, I'm going to pull my jig over here. Now, I've all seen my rigged jig that I've made myself. Okay, now today, we're going to be using, like I said, a 15 millimeter, this is brushed brass. If you look, you can see up at the top, it's black, but the one we're actually weaving onto is the brushed brass. So, in between that connection point there and the connection point down here, 9.5 inches. That's 7 3/4 plus 1 3/4 add to for sizing because of the thickness. This one is a little bit thick bracelet. Right? Okay. So 9.5 inches. All right. There's that. Okay. Specifications. What I've cut today on this cord, this is Midnight Blue. I've got Colonial Blue, Midnight Blue, and Shockwave. We'll just go with that. I go over here. Orange, black, lava. Orange, black, lava. 1, 2, 3. Colonial Blue, 1. Midnight Blue, 2. And the Shockwave is the 3. Alright. I'll zoom in so you can see this. Okay, you see how over here, like I said, from this edge inward, orange, black, lava. Colonial Blue, Midnight Blue, Shockwave. That's how I'm going to orientate this. Okay? On the bracelet. These little semicircles. Okay, so, with all that said, back out again. I have cut. Hopefully it's going to be enough. It's probably going to be more than I need. But y'all know me. I would rather have way more than I need. I'd rather have to cut off 7 feet of scrap in the end, but have enough to finish the bracelet than to not have enough and get down to the end and go, I don't have enough cord. You see what I'm saying? That's why I overcut. So, like I say in all my videos, I'm going to tell you the measurements now, but look to the description below, and that will be the final amended measurements that I ended up using. Right? Okay. Take into account 7 inch or 7 3/4 inch wrist. The add to is 1 1/4 inch, so you're measuring from this point to this point, 9.5 inches. I have cut 12 feet of Midnight Blue. That's the core strands. That's number 2. Right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is number 2. This is 12 feet. Okay. On the other one, color number 1, in this case the orange, the outer edge, I've cut 6 feet. Number 3, that inner color, in this case the lava, I've cut 5 feet. Okay, now I'll show you. You can do this however you want to, but you got to meld the 2 cords together. You can use the Manning method, go right ahead. I personally don't like the Manning method. People swear by it, blah, 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 blah. I just simply melt the 2 ends together and stick them together. And they hold. If you don't know how to do this, if you want to see how I do this and I explain to you, I have a video. Also, in the description below, there's a link to a playlist, tips, tricks, insights, something to that effect. One of the first videos, if I'm not mistaken, in that playlist is called You Cannot Meld or Weld Polyester Nylon Cords, or can you? A 10, 15, 20-minute video, and it's me showing you how I do this and how it works. People say, oh, it won't hold. Yes, it will. If you know how to do it and you do it right, it'll hold. Okay. So, you need to know how to do that. Description below, playlist, link to the playlist, tips, tricks, whatever it's called. You'll see it. Okay, watch that and do this. Okay, now, well, all that said, I know I've been talking for a while, but I'm trying to explain this so it'll make sense and people will understand this. Okay, what we're going to do. Let's see. I'll show you on this bracelet right here. If you look at this closely, you see, don't look at all the colors, just look from where my finger, from the top of my finger up here. You see the slot and the buckle. There are 4 cords going through that slot, right? We see that. Okay, now what we're going to be dealing with is we're going to start on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. Now, how we're going to do this? We're going to set up our cords and get them orientated so we can begin weaving, right? Okay. Basic. If you don't know how I set up one of these core strands, go watch the video on a 4-strand core setup. Cow hitch. It starts with a cow hitch at the top here. It runs down and it makes a double cow hitch. And I haven't tightened any of this up yet. Double cow hitch on either side, and then it runs back up, goes to the top, and I do this little funky knot here at the top. Right? Okay. Now, how we're going to set this up? Like I said, you got 4 strands. Let me zoom in so you can see this. If we look, hopefully you can see this. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera. But like I said, look above my finger. You see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 strands going, 4 cords, 4 strings going through that slot. Okay? What we're going to do, these 2 outer ones, right? This big loop that I have created, the way I set mine up, these 2 loops on this outer edge, and then this cow hitch. I've seen, most likely have seen other bracelets like this. You see what I'm saying? How I've done that? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of cord number 3, the Shockwave, the one that's going to be in the middle. 1 orange, 1 black, 2 lava, 3, right? The one that's going to be in the middle, right there on the middle, closest to the center of the bracelet. In this case, it's going to be this one. We're going to run it through those holes, and we're going to come out I can get my, you see what I'm saying? We're going to go through the side, and we're going to come out between the two middle strands that is going through the slot in the buckle. All right. Now, we're going to pull this all the way through. Once we run it through there like that, we're going to pull it through, and we're going to get that meld where this cord melds with the other one, where they're melted together, and it's going to be hidden inside this little loop. You understand that? So that's what I'm going to do. If I can get this to, here, let me open it back up like this. We see how I've done that. All right. Now, I'm going to just pull this one. There's the meld point. We're going to get the meld point right behind those two strands. All right. Okay. Now, we got that. If you look over here, you can see this on this bracelet. You can see what I've done here. Like I said, you got 1, 2, 3, orange, black, lava. Same thing, orange, black, lava. If you look up here at the top, I know it's not in focus very well, but it's focused enough that you can see this. Yeah, see? Camera does not stay in focus. Okay, but you see, you've got 1, orange, black, 2, lava, 3, right? You've got that lava, which is number 3, is coming out in between those two strands, the two middle strands there. And then the number 1, orange, in this case, Colonial Blue, is coming out. Okay. We see how we got that. That's what I've done there. Okay, now this black cord, that is the working end that's coming off this side from the core strand. In this case, it's going to be this Midnight Blue. And it's just not going to focus. There we go. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end. This is the working end. I'm going to just follow this to the end. That's all I'm doing is finding the end of this piece. Now I'm going to go underneath everything. And from the back side of this bracelet, in between, pay attention, very close, in between this first cord that goes through the slot and the second one. We see that. I'm going to come up. Now this is the one going through the top, and it's coming out the back, and it's wrapping through, making this little loop, right? But this one is going up under both of those. Basically, it's going to come through here, and we're just going to pull that slack out. We got that. So basically, what we end up having going on here, if you can see this, right? You get those 3 cords: orange, black, and lava flow. And they're orange is on this outside edge, black is in that in between those first 2 strands, and the lava flow is in between the next 2 strands, right? So you have your orientation: orange, black, lava. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We see that. That's all I've done right here. 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I know I probably over-explained that, but I'm trying to make that simple. Now that I've got everything, I've got my core set up. It's not tight. And I've got my cords set up. Not tight. I'm going to tighten all this up. Now, I've already done this. I think it should be, this should be the pretty simple part. If you don't know, you go watch the thing, but I'll show you this just to show you. I've already got this measured out between connection point here, between the male and the female buckle part pieces. Between that connection point and this connection point, what did we say? 9.5 inches. 7 3/4 plus 1 3/4 inches because of the thickness of the bracelet, for a total of 9.5 inches. I've already got this measured out to 9¼ inches. So it's just shy. It's a 1/4 inch shy of what I want it to actually be. Now I'm going to tighten all this up, and then I'm going to move my carriage piece down, and I'm going to pull it, and that's going to tighten all this up. For those who have watched my videos, you've seen at the very end, when I get completely done and I go to release this, take this off, it always goes poof, pop. I'm going to show you how I get all that tension on there right now. It's something you don't see on my videos very a lot because I don't have to show you all this setup. But I'm going to pull this. Now, some of this I can't do on camera because I've got to orientate. I got to get it over here so I can see everything. But we're going to make sure. Let me make sure before I do all this that I got my measurement right first. Before I go to tighten everything up and, cinch everything down and get it all with it, I'm going to make sure, like they say, like a carpenter tell you, measure twice, cut once. I'm gonna measure this thing again, make sure I got it measured right before I go to tighten everything up. Okay, right. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach down here with these. This first cow hitch is where I started. This center cords, this center cow hitch for a 4-string cord. This is where it initially attached to the buckle. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that cow hitch tight. Okay, follow these 2 cords down. They're going to go through the top of the buckle and come around here to the bottom side of this buckle. Right here. I'm kind of on the bottom side of the buckle. Back side of both those 2 cow hitches you have here. Just grab those cords and kind of pull them. And that's going to give you some tension. Now, what I'll do is I'll reach up here. Hopefully you can see this on camera. I'm going to reach up here and grab this side of this cow hitch. And the other side. And pull them. And I'm going to pull in that direction, and it's going to take the slack out of these 2 cords, right? That's all we're doing. Do one side at a time. Pull this one, and I'm going to put my finger back here on the back side and just kind of hold it. And then I'm going to grab this. Because it comes up through here, it goes around, back through, and then it comes out this cord. All right, so basically we're going to pull this, and we're just going to tighten up that cow hitch. Does that make sense? This is what I do, and you don't see me do all this on camera most of the time. Because this is core string set up. Okay, same thing with this one. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab this one, I'm going to pull it. It's tightening up that center core string right there. This one right here, not the one that this finger's on top of, but this one. It's tightening that up. Now, with this finger, I reach back here on the back and just kind of hold that tension. And I'm going to grab this, right? Because it comes up here, it goes around underneath through the slot, and this is it. And I'm going to pull this, and it's going to tighten this loop up. You see that? Okay, now we got all our slack here. So we're going to follow our slack up. Now on this one, we're going to do the same basic thing. We're going to reach back here on the back side. Don't let all these cords confuse you. We're going to reach back here and we're going to grab where this cord comes from this cow hitch up. We'll follow it up, down through the buckle, and we're going to grab it on the back side right there. See, I'm going to pull this, and it's going to tighten this up. Right? Okay, same thing on this side. Where this strand comes from this cow hitch at the bottom, and it goes up, goes through the top, we're going to grab hold of it, and we're going to pull out that slack. We see that, right? Now we just grab these 2 right here, and I'm going to pull them back toward me. Right? Now, I'm going to make sure, let's make sure we got all this, before we start tightening everything up all wild, make sure we got our meld in there where it's supposed to be, so it'll be hidden. Okay, something. Okay, hold on here. There's something. Okay. We'll grab those two strings. Like I said, they go up and the depth through that slot, and we'll pull in those. Why does this not look right? Okay, something has got twisted over here. Hang on just a second. I'm going to do this side. Pull this one. Put my finger on the bottom and just kind of hold it. And I pull all that slack out of that loop. Just kind of roll your thumb. Watch the core strand setup, 4-strand core setup video, and all this kind of make a little bit more sense. It's just kind of confusing because it got all these extra cords on it. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on this side. This thing is all twisted. How did all that get so twisted? That's what's throwing me off. It's all twisted like. I think I may have something to do with it right there. Yeah, that's it right there. Here we go. Okay. I think I got it set up right. I think I got it tight enough. Like I said, this one is our normal cord coming off our core string, right? We're not dealing with that with this one. Right here. Like I say, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We got that? And I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Now, I know it's probably not going to be that easy to see just because of the colors. But you got one coming out the edge. You got number 2, which is the cord from coming off this cord string. It's just going to back up through in between the first 2 cords that's going through the slot. And then number 3, it's going through the very middle, between the 2 middle, in between that cow hitch. All right. Hopefully all that made sense. You can see all that. I know. That's what got me all messed up when I was trying to do all this. All right. 1, 2, 3. You see where they're coming out and in placement in relation to the cords that are going through that slot. All right. Now, hopefully I'm going to back out all the way. I'm about done with this little section. We'll get to weaving here in just a moment. But I'm going to back out. I'm going to tighten this thing up. We're going to measure it one more time. I'm going to do this. All this will be done. You probably won't be seeing it. It's going to kind of be done off camera. I'm going to measure this one more time. Now that I got it, now that I got all my core strands hand tight, right? I've got it measured. From connection point to connection point, I've got it measured right now at 9 1/4 inches. And we want it 9 1/2. And this is, I got it relatively tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up my carriage and I'm going to pull it towards me, and it's going to tighten all this up. It's going to give me that extra 1/4 inch that I need. That's how I do this. That way all this is tight. Need clean tight, right? Need clean tight. Need clean tight. I'm going to reach up here and turn it on the side because the screw right here is on the bottom. And I've said this before. The spine piece, it comes all the way down right here. And I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put it in my chest, and I'm going to hold my chest to hold it. And when I loosen this screw up, I'm going to pull this toward me. And I'm looking at these measurements over here. That's what these are for. I'm going to measure these out. I'm going to basically 1/4 inch. I need to get 1/4 inch out of it because I've already got this thing tight. I'm going to have to move it more than 1/4 inch. And I'm going to tighten it down. Bam. Now those things are really tight. Okay, now I'm going to measure it one more time to see what it's at. To make sure that I got that 1/4 inch out, and we want it at 9 1/2 inches. It's just shy of 9 1/2 inches. I bet you. I bet you. Maybe. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to loosen it up. I'm going to pull it toward me again. Get this thing even tighter. Yeah. And that should give me the 9 1/2 inches I need in totality. That'll work. 9 1/2 inches. Okay, now that we got everything set up, I'm sorry, folks, it took so long and whatever, but I just wanted you to see how I did this. 1, 2, and this is the working strand from this side of the cord, right? And then this is 3. You get these orientated right, 1, 2, 3. Now we can actually start weaving, right? So let me get my camera set up and, on the way, and I'll get it all set up and film it that way. Whatever. Y'all have seen my videos, I film it from a different angle. But let me get all that set up. I'll come back and we'll start actually weaving this. Okay. Thanks for sticking around. Okay, folks. With that long introduction, I'm set up. I'm ready to start weaving. I've already given you specifications, measurements, all that good stuff. Now I know I'll go ahead and say this. And I know it was a little long. I thought about that. I was like, man, that thing was long. But like anything else, your foundation got to be strong in order for it to do right. And that's one of these that when I made this, the first time I made this, it took me a little while to wrap my mind around all that, what was going on and everything. But once I did and I started doing it, I've made a few of these since. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. You get all that, understand what's going on up here, and it makes the weave that much easier. Now, like I say, this weave is not that hard. You just got one strand here, and then you got these 3. Okay? You got to be mindful of where you put these 3. Okay? I'm gonna take it slow. I know it's gonna kind of probably most likely be hard to see because of the colors and the number of cords. But I'm gonna try to take it slow, and hopefully you'll be able to see all this. Okay, what I'm going to go ahead and do, this just to make this easier. I've gotten into the habit. I don't normally weave with this setup. What this is for, I won't go into a whole bunch of details. But this thing is set up. It's at an angle. and the camera's straight down. And it's like an easel, and this thing's angled so I can see it. It's not sitting flat on my desk with a camera looking down. And it's kind of got the camera at a good angle for you as the viewer to be able to see it, and me as the weaver to be able to see it, right? But I've gotten into the habit of going ahead and putting fids on the end of these. And I've noticed in some of these videos, it seems to help me show you where I'm putting that. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'll go ahead and put these on here. Hopefully this will. Like I say, this one is, once you do this and you see the mechanics of this, you'll go, oh, it makes total sense. I see how it does. You just got to be careful and just stay orientated with the way these cords are and where you're running them through these slots. Like I said, if you've done the basic links with the two colors, all this is you're just adding another color. And where you're running them through, in between which lanes. Like y'all see me say, you got, 4 strands. 4 core strands, so in between you got lanes in between each one. Right? That's all. You just got to make sure you get the correct cord going through the right lane and coming up back through there. But all you're doing is you're just repeating that process with all 3 of these cords. And like anything else, like most of these weaves, you'll do the weave from one side to the other and then back. So basically, right now, but I'll kind of say it like this. You got these 3 on one side and this one on the other one. We're going to do our weave, the first repetition, and when we get done, this one will be on this side and these 3 will be over here. And you just do the same thing, mirror image in reverse. You see what I'm saying? That's all there is to it. You just got to be mindful where you put all these cords to get it to do right. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start off. Right? Like I said, 1, 2, 3. I've said that and I've repeated that and I've repeated that and I've repeated that on purpose. So that when we actually get to weaving, now my melded part is sticking out right there. You can kind of see it just a little bit. Let's see if I can. Yeah. Pull it just a little bit to get that where those 2 cords are joined together. Just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So it's hidden up inside there and you don't see it. But like I was saying, 1, 2, 3. I've repeated that over and over and over so much, so forth. That way you'll understand. When I go number 1, bam. Number 2, bam. Number 3. Okay. What we're going to do, we're going to start off with this cord on the left. This one is a single cord by itself. And what we're going to do is you're going to go underneath. Give me just a second. Let me fix this. Hang on just a second. It's got a burr on the end of it. Y'all have heard me talk about that. The end of that thing's got a burr, even with that fid. And when you start pulling it through, you don't want that burr to catch on the on the inner edges of those strands and potentially cause a snag. So let me get rid of this real quick. Hopefully that fixed it. Like I said, this one is not hard. Once you do it once or twice, you'll see it. You just got to be careful that you repeat the process every single time. Yeah, I mean, it's like any other way. It's not as difficult as it may seem. And there's more work in setting all this up and getting that right. The actual weave's not hard. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start off with this one single strand on this side. Okay, let's look for reference sake back to this bracelet again. so you can see this. Okay? What we got is orange, that's 1. Black is 2. And this little lava flow, that's what it's called, is number 3. Right? 1, 2, 3. And then this one over here is just the cord that's on the opposite side. I'm not going to number it. But we see. Now this first one, it doesn't look correct, but like I said, it's semicircle, and now I'll go through, and over here on this side, you got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. But they're in this kind of semicircle orientation. And then it goes to this side. Back and forth. We see how that works. That's okay? Just so you can see, again, get a visual representation of what we're trying to create. This is what we want. And now we're going to start. Okay, so what we're going to do, first thing we're going to take this, we're going to find the end of this, and we're going to go under 3. You got full core strings, so we're going to go under 3. Right? Now, when we go under, oh, excuse me, we're going to go under. Under these 3, over the top of this last one. Let me zoom in. Hopefully that'll help you see it a little bit better. Right? We'll see that. Under the 3, coming from this side. 1, 2, 3, under. And then over that last one. And all of these, we're going to go under all these 2, right? See what I'm saying? So we're going to pull this through. Now, we're not going to pull it all the way through. We're just going to kind of pull it through like that. Okay? Now, we're going to come back. What we're going to do is we're going to start with number 3. The one that's closest to the center. This is going to be that one that's running down the center, basically. Right? So we're going to start with that one. I'm going to go to the end of my cord where that fit is. Okay. This is what we're going to do. Pay attention. Hopefully you'll be able to see this, and all this is going to make sense. From this side, you're going to go down through that first slot. We see that? Now we're going to go down through that slot, but we're going to come back up through that middle slot. But we're going to go underneath this blue cord here, how it's going underneath these 3. We're going to go underneath it, and we're going to come up right there. Hopefully that makes sense. Get this out of the way. Just ignore these. We're not looking at those. We're simply looking at that one cord. All right? So it's going to go through that first slot. It's always that first slot. Now, when we get done with this repetition, it'll be the slot on this far side, but it's the first one on that side. But right now, it's the first one on this side. Go down through there, go underneath this one. See what I'm saying? Underneath that, and then go from the first lane. You go over one lane and you come up through there. So you go down through that first lane, underneath, go back that direction, one lane, and you come up. Now, you're going to pull your slack through. Mindful of your twist. Mindful of your twist. This one, very important, we don't have a bunch of twists. See that little twist right there? Get that out. Alright? Now, I've just moved that twist up. Okay, now before I try to tighten this up, this space between where this comes off the top and goes down through there and our core strings, we got to leave that space right there open. Okay, now we're done with this one. Get this one out of the way. Just kind of set it off to the side. Okay, now this one is the one that comes around, goes. All right, we're ignoring this one. Now we're going to go to, that was number 3. Number 2. Going to number 2. We're going to do the same thing that we just did, but all the slots we do it in are going to be moved over one. Just one slot over. Both the going down here and then the coming up. So, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, I'm going to show you this now. There's the end of my cord. So this first one, it went down through this far slot on this side. All we're going to do is move over one slot. So basically what we're doing is we're going to this middle slot in between all four of these four cord strands. We're going right down through the middle. Right. Then we're going to go underneath that cord. Like I said, this blue one that's coming through that we ran through initially. We go underneath the back side of it and we come up on the next lane over. We see that? It goes down in this lane, underneath, and it comes up in that next lane. Right? Now, let's kind of pull our slack through. Not tight. Make sure there's no whatever. No twist in it. Don't try to tighten it up yet. Okay, now at the end of that cord, we're going to go up under that loop. You see? 3, 2. And now we're going to do the next one with this cord number 1. We're going to do the same thing we just did. And it's all going to go through. And it's going to come out on this side. And it's going to be up here at the top. Okay. Now this one, same thing. Come across, go over the top of this, and like I said, every time you do it, you're going to move over one lane that you do it in. So on this one, we're going to go down through, from this side, going that first lane right there. Over one, and down through that lane. I'm going to pull that slack through. Now, the thing is, when we come back up, there's no lane over here. You just come back up around the outside edge of the thing. That makes sense? There's no lane for you to go through. All right? Now, just like the other two, they're going to run up under all three of these loops we just created. We're just going to run it through. Bam, bam, bam. We see that? And we're going to just pull all the slack through. And that's it. That's all there is to this. I know you're like, what? Now we just tighten it up. And it's not, tightening this up is not that hard. It may look hard, but it's not. So what we're going to do, we're going to take these 3 cords right here. The trick with this one is getting these where they come out because they're going to make that little semicircle. So this is the first one that, you know, these 3 right here, 1, 2, 3 coming off, or I should say 1, 2, 3 coming off the top is these 3 right here, right? But where this is coming out on this side, that's this first little proper looking semicircle. So you want to keep these oriented right. 1 on the top, 2 next, and then 3. So when you go to tighten all these up and pull all this slack out, you just be mindful to keep those orientated right. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of push everything up toward the buckle. I'll pull this through. Now, make sure you got these orientated right. Okay? Now, this is the way I do it, just in my mind to help me. I'll do this one first. Right? And as I pull here, I'm going to kind of run my finger down this and push down that. And I'm not trying to pull this real tight yet. Okay? You see how we look right here. We see how it's already wanting to get out of orientation. This is cord number 2. This is cord number 1. This is cord number 3. We want number 1 to be on top. So that's what I said. You got to make sure you maintain the orientation of these cords in relation to each other when you tighten this thing up. Okay? See that? 1, 2, 3. That's why I say emphasize that, because I got to stay in that order. Right? Okay. We've tightened up 3. Now we're going to kind of tighten up number 4. Or, excuse me, number 2. And it's going to tighten up this little loop. All right. Now we're going to tighten up number 1. It's going to tighten up, pull up all this slack out, right? Now this right here is not going to look correct. Like most bracelets, like I said a lot of times, the first time you do it, it's not going to look very well. But once you get going, it'll start looking correct. Okay, now that we got a loose cinch, if we will, we're going to push this thing up. Now we're going to pull this. And the way I've been doing this is kind of pushing this up. Pull this one right here. We're going to get this one tight. All right. All I'm doing is pulling this cord this direction. Just pull it straight out. Just straight out. No crazy angle on it. It ain't got to be up or down. Just pull it through, and it's going to tighten it up. Okay, now we're going to reach over here and we're going to grab this one more time. I'm going to pull it. I'm going to grab all this knot, and I'm going to hold it, pulling it back this way. Holding it back this way as I pull this cord this direction. And it's going to tighten this up. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to the next one, number 2. I'm going to do the same thing. And as you do this, kind of push up on this. That way it'll give you that slack in that cord right there. It comes out through this. All right. Now we're going to do this last one. This last one got a little bit of a twist in it right there. Not bad. It'll straighten itself out once I pull it. Now see, there's going to be the gaps in between these cords right here where they all 3 come down. No problem. Don't worry about it. They're going to be there. If you look over here on this, you'll see them. They're here. There's really not much you can do about it. You see how there's a gap in between this number 1 orange and number 2 black? There's a gap in between there. And then there's a gap between number 2 black and number 3 lava. There's a gap in between there. There's nothing really you can do about that. Okay, so it's going to be there. Don't worry about it. Now we're going to start where it comes around and makes that first proper looking semicircle. We see that. But you got those tight. And what I did when I first did this, and you start doing this and you pull these tight and make that little semicircle, you can reach up over your thumb and kind of touch them. You kind of push on them and see, are they tight? I mean, you can feel. If you get them tight, they're going to be hard. If they're not tight, they'll be like a sponge. Now, you can leave it loose like a sponge if you want. I don't want mine that way. But you don't want to pull it so tight that it messes up the orientation of the 1, 2, 3. Because that's what we're going for, to get that neat looking pattern running down through there. We got to keep everything right. See, that's all there is to this. You just got to be mindful of it. Now, I've already tightened it up pretty good. I'm gonna push everything up one more time and just kind of. Okay, that's it. Now, we're going to do the same thing that we just did in reverse mirror image order. We'll start with this. And what I say, we're going to go under 3. There's the end of our cord. We're going to go under 3 and over 1. And they're going to go up under all this. Correct? We're just going to pull it through. Pull our slack through. Or excess through. Not our slack, our excess. Pull our excess through. Leave it a little loop because, you know. Right? Okay. Now we'll just take this. I'm going to just kind of sit it up here and get it out of the way. Hopefully they'll get it to stay out of the way. Now, this. Again, we're going to start with the one that's closest to the center, number 3. All right, and we're going to do like we did last time. We're going to go all the way across, and we're going to go through this first slot from this direction. This direction, that first slot, we're going to go down. Go down through it. All right, so I'm going to find the end of my cord where I got the fit. Like I say, it comes out on this side of the bracelet. So basically what you're going to do is go 1, 2, 3, and you're going to go down through this slot. All right. Let me make sure that I'm doing this correctly. Yes. Okay, now, to that first slot. Now we're going to go back this direction, one from the slot we went down. We're going to go back that direction, one lane, one slot. But we got to make sure we go up under this. So we go up under here, not through this slot. That's the first one. That's the one we went down in. So we're going to go to the one in the middle. And we're going to just pull our slack through. Make sure we don't have any twists in it. Right? I'm just going to sit this kind of over here to the side. That was number 3. Now we're going to do number 2. I'm going to just find the end where my feet is. We're going to do the same thing. Like I say, we're going to do the same thing we just did. But all the slots we do in is going to bump over one. Right? So instead of going through this last slot from this side, we're going to go through the next one. Makes sense? In this case, it's the slot in the very middle. We're going to go down through there. We're going to bump over one, going underneath that cord, remember? And then we're going to come up to that next slot over. I'm going to pull our slack through. Alright. Now, remember, we're going to go up under this one. That way we get our cord back on this side over here. We see that. Goes down through the first slot, up through, and it comes out. This one goes down through the next slot over, and it goes up. Moved over one slot, but they both come out right there. And you see how 3, 2, and we're going to do the next one, and we're going to keep it on the top. Alright? So we'll find the end. That's all there is to this, man. I know it made a look. Once you just take it slow, do what I'm trying to show you, and just kind of look at it, and you'll go, okay, yeah, I see it. I see how all that works. Now, this one, we're going to go through that first slot. I'm going to go ahead and pull this slack out. Or pull the excess through, I should say. Okay? Now we look. 1, 2, 3. You see how they're orientated in this kind of semicircle move. Right, we ain't got it tightened up yet. Now, we're going to take this one. And we're going to go underneath all 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. See? Underneath. And we're going to pull the excess through this way. Alright? So this right here is going to be our semicircle. Once we tighten it up, and we see, we got 1, 2, 3. See the orientation. Remember, we've got to keep that orientation. Alright? So, we're going to loose cinch. Push up toward the buckle. Pull this one. And then just kind of loosely cinch these. And like I said, I always started with the middle one. I'm going to pull here, and it's going to kind of tighten up this one. Alright? Now, we'll go to number 2. Make sure you keep the orientation right here where they're coming out correct. Go to number 2. It tightens it up. When you do that, when you go to tighten this up, to maintain this orientation where they're coming out of the top, you can kind of put your thumb right there and kind of hold it down and tighten it just a little bit. Not trying to get it real tight right this second. We're just trying to take out the majority of all that slack, that excess. Now, same thing. I'm going to pull this. It's going to see, in order to maintain this orientation of where they're coming out here and making that semicircle, just kind of hold your finger right there and then pull this direction. Alright? Now, you see, we got our little semicircle formed. Now, okay, now here's a key point. It hadn't come into play just yet. But I'll show you. I want to show you this. If we look on this bracelet, and we look right here on the edge, I'm going to turn it sideways so you can see. You see how you got the orange. That's cord number 1. And then you got the black. right there. That is the other, right? That's this cord, not number 2. 1, 2, 3. You got one wrapped around. Then you got the other cord, this one, wrapped around this edge, right? Even though it's the same as color as this, it ain't this cord. It's the other end of it. But you see how they're wrapped around this edge right here. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but you see how they're wrapped around the edge right there? And that number 1, it's been pulled pretty tight. Well, this number 2, or it's not number 2. This other cord, it's not pulled tight yet, so they're not even. If you look at it right here, you can see for the most part, look at this. But you see how that orange and that black one, they've both been pulled just enough that they both kind of sit evenly. See, right here again. Now, there's going to be a gap. If you look right there, let me get my... If you look right here, you can see, if it'll focus, yeah, it's not going to stay in the focus. But as you see, you got that orange and that black, and you can see that piece of that core strand right there. It's kind of hard to see, I know, the lighting and all that, right? There's a gap in between this black and this orange, and you can see that core strand. I don't care how much you push, you tighten and push toward that top bolt, you're not going to get rid of that gap. They're going to be there. The concern on this is to keep this orange wraparound and this black wraparound the same. Now, they're not completely perfect on this bracelet. I'm going to tell you, they're not completely perfect. You see how this one right here looks like it's been pulled? These two have been pulled a little bit tighter than these two. These two stick out. You've heard me talk about the heart monitor. Bloop, 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 bloop. Well, yeah, I didn't do this one all that great. That one right there has been pulled real tight, and the rest of them are relatively straight. But that's what we got to be mindful of. Now, it's on both sides. Does that make sense? It's only this number 1, in this case it's orange, that wraps around that outer edge. And then that black one, that's that oddball one over here. That's not part of the numbering. You see what I'm saying? So if you look right here, I'm going to kind of spin this. You can see how this midnight blue right here is sticking out compared to this. If you can see it, the number 1 color. In this case, Colonial Blue. See it sticking out? So what you do is you take this and you pull this tight, and it's going to pull that right there. And it's going to cause it to even up with the cord above it. See how I did that? That's what you got to be mindful of. Once you get all this kind of tight and you push everything up, see how it's real loose right there? We're going to fix that. But once you get all this done, always look and make sure those two cords are going to be even. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to me. A lot of little details in this one. It's not that hard to get your overs and unders. And it's not, it's just you got to pay attention to all these little details to make it look right. Okay. So we're going to go back to this first one, number 3. Now that we got everything over here, what I'm going to do is over here toward this side, I'm going to push everything up. You see how it created a whole bunch of slack when I pushed it up? So we're going to push that up, and we're going to tighten these up one more time. Now I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to pull that thing, and I'm going to go to number 2. Do the same thing. Tighten it up. Now I'm going to do this again. Now I'm going to try to do this. You see how that's real loose? I'm going to tighten this up. I'm going to push it up. I'm going to try to tighten this, and watch how this little loop will tighten up just a little bit. You can't see it because I'm trying. I gotta hold it with this hand to get it to be still so I can put the pressure on it. But see, now it's not flipping and flopping and loose like it was. Now it's neat, clean, and tight. But we're gonna pull it. That's all you're gonna do, and just make sure, because when you push all this up, it creates a little bit of excess in there. We want to get all that out, so we don't want to have that stuff all loosey goosey. All right, we'll see how that worked though. Now we're back to the orientation we started on. We got a 3 quarters on one side and a 1 on the other. All right, now I'm gonna show you this one more time. We're gonna find the end of this one, and we're gonna go under 3 and over 1. Under 3, over 1, and underneath all these. And just kind of pull your slack out. Pull your excess through. Right. Just get this off to the side. We'll start again with the number 3, the one that's closest to the center there. And we're going to go through this last slot. Go down through this last slot. We're going to go back this direction. Underneath this 1 cord here, underneath here, but back one lane over, and pull your excess there. We see that? Just remember, our cords starting off pointing that direction. We want to end up after all this pointing that direction. That makes sense? Now we're going to go to the number 2. We're going to do the same thing. But remember, we're going to move it over 1 slot. From the slot we went down and up through, we're going to go back. And it's in the middle. It's always the middle. With this number 2 cord, it's always down through the middle slot. And then you're going to come back over to that last slot. And pull your excess there. It's got a little twist. Get our twist out. Alright. Okay, now, remember, it's got to go up under that number 1 color. See that? Keeping the orientation. 3, 2, and we're going to do this one. Down through that first slot, and there's no slot, but we're just going to come and wrap around the outside edge. There's no slot for us to come up through on this one. Get the twist out, and then we're going to go up under. 1, 2, 3. Up under all 3 of those. See? 1, 2, 3. Keeping the orientation of these cords. Always be mindful of the orientation of these cords. A little slack through. Alright. Now, got 3. We got 1, 2, 3 on this side, and then we got the oddball on this side. And that's all there is. We're going to push everything up, slowly tighten it all up again. And now remember, like I said, over here now you got the 1 color wrapped around, and then you got this one wrapped around. You got to remember, when we tighten all that up, we're going to make sure those two get tightened the same. Okay? Keeping our orientation, we're going to push everything up. Kind of loosely pull this one, and then from the number 3, just kind of pull it, and you'll see this one got tight right there. Alright, now we're going to go to the number 2. Make sure these stay in orientation. 1, 2, 3. Pull this one. And you see how loose that is? You see all that excess right there? Now I'm going to tighten it up. Like I hold my hand right here to get it tightened. But now you come back and you see it's not tight. It's not loosey-goosey now. Right? And we come up to the next one. Do the same thing. Okay, now what we're going to do, got this big gap between this light blue number 1 and this other one up right here. Right there's a big old gap when you set cord string. We don't want it that much. So we're going to see how I can push it up. When I push it up, it causes these to loosen up a little bit. But once we get it kind of tight, we're going to push everything toward that buckle. And we're going to do it one more time. Right here. Pull that one. Go to the next one. Like I said, you can hold your thumb over on these cords where they come out to maintain this 1, 2, 3 orientation. Right? Hold that to keep that orientation right. And you're also holding this whole kind of knot, pulling it, holding it back this way as you put some tension on it this way to tighten it up. We see that. That's it, man. That's all there is to it. See, there you got a little semicircle forming, and you got a semicircle forming, and now we're just going to do it again. And I'll show you this. The last time I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to weave all this out. I'm going to come back. I'm going to take the end of this cord. We're going to go under 3 and over 1. Under 3 and over 1, and underneath all these, and you're going to just pull your excess through. Hang on. Right? Okay, set this off to the side. We'll start with number 3. Number 3. Do that last slot on this side. We'll go down through that last slot. And then we'll move from that slot over to that middle slot. Mindful of those twists. We see that? Get that out of the way. Now, go to number 2. Find the end of your cord. Like I said last time, this one always goes down through this middle slot. But we're going to come over 1. No. Over 1 that direction. And come up right through here. Alright? And remember, we got to go up under this to get it back on this side. So, what you can do, if you're paying attention, you can go up through here and go ahead and go up under right there. That way, you can just go ahead and mindful of that twist. It's already got a twist in it. I can see it. Get that twist out. Alright. Three, 2. I'm going to pull that excess through. See what I'm saying over here? 3, 2. Orientation. I'm talking about orientation. Alright, now we're going to do the last one. And this one goes through the next slot over the first slot. We're going to pull this little excess through, and we're going to come up, and we're going to go up under these 3, remember? That way it comes out over here on this side. You got your orientation. So we're going to just kind of pull all that through. Mindful if you get a twist. If you see a twist on the form, go ahead and get it out. See that? See, now we got our next little semicircle. 1, 2, 3. Got the oddball on this side and 1, 2, 3 on this side. See, it's wrapped around. This one right here, we're going to wrap it around. We're going to tighten it all up. Everything's going to look good in just a second. But we got everything correct. Everything's in the right orientation. Right now, we're just going to push everything up. Loose cinch here. Number 3, loose cinch. Now, thing is, I got to hold this knot down because I got to put some pressure to get this to tighten up right. Okay, so right, then we're going to go to number 2. All the time, being mindful of the orientation of these. And go to number 1. Push up over there. See how I tightened it up? You can see it, right? All right. See how this, if you look real close, you can see this darker blue is sticking out just a little bit further than this lighter blue above it. All we got to do to fix that is pull this one and it'll tighten that up. But we're not going to do that just yet. Now that we got all this tight, watch. I'm going to push these up right here. And they'll go up a little bit more, and it's going to cause it to get loose right there. Those semicircles will be loose. So we're going to push up, and we're going to tighten them up one more time. That's 3, but number 2. Number 2. See how it's loose right here? Number 1, I'm going to push it up, and I'm going to tighten it right there. See how it's not loose now? It stays in place because I've pulled it tight. That's what you want. Alright. So those are tight now. Back to this one. See how it's not? Watch, I'm going to pull this and you're going to see this little wraparound tighten up just a little bit. Watch. You see it? It's kind of hard to see, I'm sure, on camera, but it's there. Bam. That's all there is to it. You see, little semicircles are starting to form. The pattern is starting to form. You're starting to see it. But that's all there is to this one. I know you got to make sure you get this going down through one slot and then coming up and the next slot over. Depending on which side and which way you're going, you see, does that make sense? But you go down through one slot and you come up. You don't come back up through the same slot. It shifts one direction or the other. Makes sense? And that blue one, there's no slot for it to come back up. It always comes back up on the outside edge. So when you tighten it up, make sure you push everything toward that top buckle and tighten it up. 3, 2, 1. Push it up again and then 3, 2, 1. You see what I'm saying? And then you look where they wrap around that side, make sure they're even. Right? And then you just do it again, the other side. And you just work your way all the way down. Now, I'll come back when I get done. After I've done this and I've worked my way all the way to the end, I'll come back and I'll show you how I finish this thing. And it's not really that hard, honestly. If you look at this one, you can see what I've done. Basically, on this last little semicircle, they all go down through the buckle, and that's it. They stay on that back side. They don't come. You don't try to come back up and through and all. You just leave it. Once you get it through there. Now the thing is, once you get to a certain point, are you going to have enough room between your last semicircle and what you're trying to do for this next one to get it to go down through there? That's where those fids come in handy, because you get it down through there now. It'll be tight on the end. But you want to get that last one in and fill all that out. But like I said, I'm going to weave this out to the end, and when I get down to the end, I'll come back and I'll show you how I finish this off. Hopefully, all that makes sense. I know it was long, and I explained a lot, and everything like that, but this one ain't no tutorial for this. So I want to make sure you understand what I'm doing and how I'm doing that, so yours will look good. You know, not that mine's perfect by any means, but it looks pretty daggum good, considering I'm having to look at pictures from a book to do this, and I can't see, I'm having to do this and learn myself. This one is open. A lot of times you watch a video of somebody doing it, you can see them do it and go, okay, I see how he's holding that cord and how he's pulling it and doing this. Well, in the pictorial, yeah, it's not like that. It's just showing you the over to the under, and you're having to go, okay, I got all the overs and unders, but how do I tighten it up? Over here, under there, great. Which direction do I pull it, and how tight do I pull it? Does that make sense? There's nothing, you don't get any of that in the picture at all. So, that's why I'm trying to thoroughly explain how, not only the overs and the unders, but pull this one tight in this direction and this tight. Makes sense? Like I do in all my videos. But hopefully that helped. And like I said, I'll weave it out when I get done, I'll come back and I'll show you how I finish it off. But I appreciate you watching. Thanks. And give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, I'm down. I got it all weighed out. Turned out pretty good, actually. I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a tip. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. Pay attention or whatever. This is something I hate that happens. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he said, yeah, I said, I'm going to. I said, I got you. I appreciate it. I said, I know that little quote-unquote paracord bracelet making hack, if you will. Right? But I'm going to show you. And if you don't know this, I'll show you this. Put this in your repertoire. Like I've said before, I hate when you get down to the end and your cord is not quite long enough. Now, just to show you, I'll show you these. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, right? These plenty long enough. And these two cords, this is a number 2, and then this is that oddball that just the way the weave is, right? But these are the strands that have come from the core strand, right? One side, you got plenty of length. It's because they're being woven different. But this one is the one that's doing these little semicircles, and you can see how it's really short. Okay? I'll show you this. You get down to the end. Some of you may have experienced this problem. Right? Your fid, the length of your fid. You know, I know people have different sizes. I've got quite a few different sizes. But the fid itself is too long for you to fold it back over and to get the tip of the fid. Here, let me zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better maybe. But the fid itself is too long for you to fold it back over and get the tip to go through the hole you need. You see what I'm saying? Okay. There's 2 things you can do. I mean, you probably do a whole lot more, but there's 2 standard things. What you'll see a lot of people will do is they'll take a pair of like hemostats and they'll fish them, if that's the word, through that bracelet, and they'll open them up. Oh gosh, you see what I'm saying? And now, basically, use them hemostats, open them up, kind of pinch the end of it and pull it through, right? That's one way to do it. That's what I see so many people in these videos do. And I've never seen anybody mention this trick before. So if you don't know this, bam, pay attention. What you do is you take your fid. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm still kind of getting over this cold I had. But what you do is you take your fid and you go ahead and you stick it. Now, I'm just doing this for the sake of showing you this trick. You just stick it through wherever you need to stick it through, and you get it halfway through there like that. Now, you come back and you fold your cord over itself and you stick it in that end and you tighten it up that way. You see what I'm saying? Then you can pull it through. And if you need to, which I'm going to have to do this here in a second, you're going to have to weave it, whatever, you just do it again. You just take it off and then stick the fid back through wherever you need to run it through again, and you just do that. There's your tip, trick, whatever. Something I picked up through the years. And, you know, I've been making bracelets for a long time, and I seen somebody do that, and I'm like, oh, you know, I never thought about it. I said, man, that makes perfect sense. And I've never seen anybody actually mention that, except that one time in the video. They mention it. Most of the time you see somebody and they'll take their hemostats and use, which go right ahead. But, okay, with all that said, let's finish this off. We're down to the very end. You see, I don't have very much room. I've got just enough to kind of do one more semicircle, and we're going to finish this thing off. All right, so, all that said, let's do this. Back to the same pattern we've done. We're going to go starting on this side, under the 3, and then over that last one. Get it up through there like that. And this is probably going to be a little bit of a tight fit because we're down to the end, but that's okay. That's what the fids or the lacing needles are for. That's kind of hard. I'm looking at this at a crazy angle. So, give me. Alright. And then this one right here is the one we're going to have to deal with on the thing. So, let's make sure, let's get this, where's the fid at? Let's make sure we get this fid through where we want it to be. It's going to have to go through, let's see. right there. And like I said, get that fitted through there enough, you can stick that short cord in the back end and just twist your fid onto that cord. You can pull it through, right? Now, we're going to take it and undo it. Let's see, you know what? Let me back up. This one right here that the number 1 cord that I ran through and I come back, we don't need to come back to the front side. Why? Because we're finished and we want all our cords to be on the back side. We want them to end on the back side. So this one, I shouldn't have ran it through here. So let me run it back through. Like that. Okay. Now, we'll take the last one and we'll stick it through here. Okay, we see how we're doing the 1, or I should say the 1, the 2, and the 3. Making that final semicircle shape. And we got all the cords on the back side. We'll deal with how we're going to cut and burn those in a moment. But we want to get all this tight. So let's pull this one. Just going to tighten up that loop right there. And now we're going to tighten these up. On this last one, it's pretty easy because you don't have it wrapped around this core strand or whatever. All you got to do is just kind of pull it. Get the next one. Here, let me get my pliers. That way I can get a better hold on this right here. And we'll pull that. I'll tighten that last one up. And then we'll get this last one, the light blue one. Okay. Make sure it's pretty tight. Yeah, it's pretty tight. Okay, now we're going to take this one, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap it around, and we're going to take it off the jig, back it out. I'm going to take it off the jig, and then I'm going to back weave these into the back side of the bracelet. All right, and like I said, I mentioned this in the very beginning when I showed you setting up the core strands, and then I set up the cords to start the weaving. That whole extra part in the beginning, I talked about getting this thing tight and all that, and I say at the end of every video, I'll pop it loose so you can see. Well, here we go. Let's pop it loose. Watch how much this thing jumps. See what I'm saying? Not so much on this one. I didn't have it as tight as some of the other ones I've made, but you see about 1/4 of an inch gap in between there. Okay, now let's get this off here, get the jig out of the way. We'll flip it over. Make sure we ain't got no dust or debris on our desk. Okay, we're going to flip it over, and we're going to look at this, and we're going to see the best way. This is the way I'll do this. I can already tell by looking at it. I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. See, the backup's kind of got an interesting looking pattern itself. All right. But what I'm going to do is you see how this one, I'll use this fence in here. This one dark blue cord is running straight across the back, and it's going through, and then I'm going to just wrap it around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3 cords, and I'm going to stick them up under this one piece of blue. Right? Then I'll come back like I do on the Solomon bar, Cobra bar. How to cut and burn a Solomon bar and have the ends on the back side of the bracelet. You hadn't watched that video? Watch it. I think it's in the tips and tricks playlist, which is in the description below. But that principle is pretty much the same. That principle will work on most bracelets you do. So we're going to get these 3 under there first, and then we're going to take this one and wrap it around and then back up under itself right there. And we'll have them all in one spot in a cut and burn. One big cut and burn on the back, right? I see somebody posted something in a video or on Facebook group, and they was asking about, they were saying that they're melting when they melt a bracelet, is there any way to make it so it doesn't look so bad and blah, 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 blah. And here's my philosophy on this. Now, granted, you don't want your burn to look incredibly bad. But remember, if you get all those cords onto the non-display side, remember, display side of the bracelet, non-display side, or the back side. If you get all your cords somehow woven through to the back side, the non-display side, and you cut and burn them, it doesn't matter so much what that melted burn spot looks like. Why? Because it's on the non-display side. Does that make sense? So, focus more so on getting the cords to terminate, to finish on the back side of the bracelet. That's the most important thing. Learn to do that. And that just comes with experience. You do a bracelet and you never exactly know how to end it, but you just kind of look at it and figure it out and go, okay, I'm going to get all these on the back side somehow. And you do. And once you get them back there, potentially, like me, I try to get them all in the same spot. You don't want one ending here and one ending over here and one ending here. I try to get them all ending in the same spot. That way, I got 4 cords in this one. They're all going to end right there in that one spot. That way, when I cut them and then I burn them, they all get burned, and the 4 individual ends get burned and melted into one big end. People say, well, that looks bad. Well, it's on the non-display side. It's not meant to be seen. And plus, when you smooth it out, it just smooths out and becomes part of the bracelet. And yeah, it's a big burn there, but just let me do this and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, we got the first one through there, right? I'm going to stick, let's see, we'll go ahead and do this one. Actually, I could do this with my fingers because this one's, that blue right there is kind of loose, so I can just stick this up through there. Just get it up through there for now. Do the next one. Pull it through. And then this next one, we're just going to get it through there. And you kind of see how I got them laid out. They're still in the, not the same order that we're in on the front, 1, 2, 3, but they're laying out there flat for the most part here. We can fix that. Yeah, there we go. Now they're in the order. Same order they were. 1, 2, 3. They're right next to each other. They're not on top of each other. They're laying flat. And then you stick that last one through there, right next to it. That makes sense. Now that we got them off through here, we'll go ahead and take the fids off. Let me back out a little bit. I got that thing zoomed in really, really far. Or really, really close. Let's go ahead and get the fids out of the way. Get all that taken off. Okay. We'll say this. We'll show you this. Like I said, the 2 main cords that were the core strands, I did this one on 12 feet. And I had enough to finish it. Got not very much on that one, but plenty on this side. But that's the nature of the way this thing's woven together. It just is. So, if you're making a bracelet, you might want to add a little bit to it. I'll probably, in the description, like I say, that's where the final amended measurements will be. I'll probably put it at 12 feet and 6 inches for this wrist size. Does that make sense? That way, you don't have to do the little hack thing. You can just do it and get through. Now, on the other one, let's see. What do we got there? That's 12 inches, 14 inches. I'll just leave that measurement I got. I said this one was on what? I made that one 5 feet. You could cut if you're making a bracelet look shorter, you could probably cut this one a little bit shorter. But that, I'm fine with having a foot of scrap in the end. Like I said, I'd rather have enough to finish the bracelet than, get down to the end, I almost not have enough to finish it. I can't stand that. Now this one on this side, I cut it at 6 feet, and I got almost 2 feet more, so we probably take a foot off of that one, right? So I'll make the amendment in the actual description. Okay, but we got them all through there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull all these tight. Before we cut them, we'll flip it over and look, make sure everything looks decent, everything's lined up. We're just going to have to tighten it all up. Okay, so we're going to start right here. Tighten this one. Tighten this one. And they pretty much are already tight. And then the light blue one. Yeah. Okay, now this last one right here, we're going to have to get it on this side edge. Right over here. Where it comes across, and it goes up under this core strand, and it comes back up under itself. So we're going to get it right here, and it's going to tighten it up where it goes across this back side. See? He's tightening this piece up that's going across, that dark blue string going straight across. Alright, now we got all this slack right there. So we're just going to pull it through right here. Okay, now, we got no twists in it. Everything's relatively flat. It's tight. Flip it over one more time. Look at it. Not wanting to focus. Wow, really? Yeah, there we go. Okay, but you see, everything, the nature of the weave stays consistent. It starts right there, and it goes all the way down, semicircles, whatever, all the way to the end. All right, so everything looks good. Everything's tight. Okay, now, we're going to do a cut and a burn right here. Like I always say, get your scissors out and get your smoothing tool. Whatever it is you use as a smoothing tool, have it right there at the ready. Don't have to go dig for it while you got molten plastic over here, hardening up in crazy lumps that you don't want. Have everything ready. Okay. Now, I always say, when you cut this, don't pick your bracelet up and manhandle it. You don't want these nubs to go back up under there or whatever. You want them, after you cut them, you want it to stay like this, and we're going to cut it and burn it. We cut, get that out of the way, now we're going to do the burn. If you look at them, you got 4 cords right next to each other. Like I said, worry more about getting the ends of the cord toward on the non-splay on the black side of the bracelet. That's your most important priority, in my opinion. This is my opinion now. But do that. You don't have to worry so much about what the melted part looks like. Why? Because they're all on the back side. And if you have them all together and you melt them all at once, it's going to form one big piece of plastic. And if you smooth it out, no problem. It's just going to be one big burn mark right there. And to be honest, I've never met, I've only had a few customers that say something. They say something about it, and that's the nature of the way these things are put together. There's no way around it. But, so what we're going to do, we're going to finish it. We'll hold it at an angle. We're just going to put the heat to it and let it do its thing. Burning the tips of the cords. Try not to burn any of the actual cords of the bracelet. Just these ends where I've cut them. Getting them all soft and molten. Now as they're doing it, they're all kind of melting there together. So it's going to form one big solid piece. There we go. Get the heat directly on a little bit. Alright, bam. Lay it down and we smooth it all in one motion. Straight across. Now reach up there, feel it, make sure it's smooth. You ain't got no burrs on it. Now, y'all seen me do this? It's a leather stamp with a little heart. Paracord's kindness. If that thing's big enough while I burn them all together, I'll usually try to stamp it on there. Don't always do it, sometimes I do, but while it's still kind of warm, and it's been smooth, while it's still warm, I'll come back and hit it again. Soften it back up just a little bit. Bam. Ain't the easiest thing in the world to see on camera, but it's there. Puts a little heart shape on the end. Let it cool off a little bit, and I'll reach up there and touch it. Make sure it ain't got no burrs or nothing like that, because, you know, it's going to be on your wrist, and it can be. So, well, after you do it, I'll just come back one more time and kind of hit it with the flame again. Just kind of soften up some of those little edges. Now, cool it off. Now, what we do, we look at it. People talk about, oh, that's a big melt. Yeah, but it's all in one place. Forget it to focus. But you see how it's all in one place right there. So, does it look, oh, that looks terrible. Well, maybe so. It's a matter of opinion. But they're all on the back, and they're all in one area. And guess what? The back is the non-display side. You don't see any cut and burns on the edges, on the front, nothing like that. They're all on the back in one spot. So, you know, like I tell people, it's that's the nature of the way these things are put together. But there you go. There you go. It's finished. What do we say? Lynx Modified. Colonial Blue, Midnight Blue, and Baby Blue and Midnight Blue Shockwave. 4-strand cord. This was made for a 7 3/4 inch wrist. The add to measurement is 1 3/4 inches. So I measured it out on my jig to what, 9.5 inches? Now, let's see. If it's not being made for my wrist, so I can't do the trial by fire that I do at the end of all my videos. I can't do that. But I do have a quote unquote mandrel. What we'll do, make sure it's cooled off. Go ahead and kind of give it the shape, bend it, because it's kind of stiff. Get your buckles, clip them together. Sizing mandrel. It's actually made, it's a solid piece of wood. It's actually made for metal jewelry. You put it on there and it kind of stretches it out or whatever. But I've come back and measured it. 6 inch, 7 inch, 8 inch. You see what I'm saying? And I can 7 inch, 8 inch, 9 inch. Right there at the 8 inch. Just shy of that 8 inch mark. Made for a 7 3/4 inch wrist. But there you go. That's how I make a Lynx Modified. But with that said, I'll finish this one like I finish them all. Keep it neat, keep it clean, and keep it tight. Happy weaving, folks. Thanks for watching.